Hello and welcome.
Let's go.
Welcome to the first episode of Natural 1's podcast, where we talk about D&D. Check your mic.
Check what up.
This is the part where we listen.
Is audio working? Bro, what is up, gamers?
Yeah, so this idea came about because we're both dungeon masters and we don't get to play nearly as much as we'd like. I definitely don't. I think you got a group.
Rarely, like barely.
Well, considering I'm part of one of the groups.
Exactly.
So
my point.
I guess we should do introductions. I am Brendan, aka the Sasquatch.
And I am Zach, aka the Raccoon.
Welcome Zach in the chat. I guess before we get into it though, how's life?
It's good, man.
What's going on these days?
Lacking D&D is an unfortunate byproduct.
Yeah.
Of work and just kind of life.
Yeah, it's been busy. What you been up to though? I actually haven't seen you in like a hot minute, like hanging out.
Yeah. Well, since that birthday dinner is just work and school.
Yeah.
Running through classes and then from classes to work, and then
I feel that. I've been going through some health stuff lately. Found out I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, which means for anyone watching that the blood sugar is at an elevated level, which means the risk for diabetes goes up. So sorry, almost burped in the mic.
Bro,
you have to cut carbs and just watch what you eat. It's actually been a lot easier than I thought. It's pretty easy after about the first week to get away from carbs. Like, you don't miss it as much as like the first day, like, God, I would kill for like a cookie right now. And like the first week I definitely cheated a little bit. I had like a bag of pretzels and I'm like, I'm so hungry. They can't be that carb rich. They're about this big. I've forgotten, I really don't snack that much. And if I do, I try to get something like pepperoni or like something meat based or like a very low carb. Video is blurry. Yeah, it's a webcam.
That's kind of...
When I get more funding, I will upgrade to my SLR. Well, since seeing this is our first episode, I guess the easiest thing to discuss is there might be some new players out there that are tempted to get into D&D, but don't know where to start. D&D is this crazy, or even just role-playing games. For us is D&D, but it could be Pathfinder, Find Pather, I don't know.
There's like Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Other TTRPGs that are like more in depth and different, and everything has a flavor that you could find.
Yeah. Isn't there like a Lord of the Rings and Star Wars one as well?
Yeah. One of my friends, he's into like what's it called? I think it's Starfinder, which is just like another version of Pathfinder for like
sci-fi stuff.
Directly.
That's cool, because that's definitely something D&D does not have currently. Is a way for like a futuristic, unless you homebrew stuff, and if you're new, you're not gonna really know. There's a mosquito hawk again. Be gone. You're not gonna know what you're doing. I certainly don't know much about what I'm doing for homebrewing, but I know you know my side story. I don't think I ever have heard. How did you get into D&D?
How did I get into D&D? I got like introduced to D&D by not this Brendan, but one of my neighbors when I was younger.
B2,
aka B2. He invited me to go play D&D with his group that he played with, and I was introduced that way because they were going through modules. They were going through Order of the Dragon Queen, so I joined like midway through it. So I got to get like the taste of like mid-level D&D.
So like level 6 or 7 or a little higher than that.
Yeah, I think there were 5 or 6 when I joined.
Yeah, that's kind of a good like entry level because it's not like crazy. You know, you have like 50 spells and they go up to 9th level, but it's not like poke with a stick.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah, it wasn't a survival horror game. When I started. But it was interesting to get to know all the, like, because we all did it on paper still, because it was like 2 or 3 years before like D&D Beyond really took off. So we were still doing pen and paper. Yeah, there were some tools, but D&D Beyond kind of really simplified it. Now, you know, there's some arguments about paywalls and whatnot, but if you want a really straightforward tool to make an early character, I mean, they'll even pre-make it for you, which I guess there are pre-made, but they'll guide you through it. Shout out if you all want to sponsor on episode 2. So did he ask you, or were you interested and like asked him about it? I threw around the idea of playing Dungeons and Dragons because I fell upon Critical Role, which kind of intrigued me into it. I was like, what's this? Because I was just kind of searching around for something to do, and like when he talked about doing stuff on Saturdays and playing, like we did it like old school, like in the garage. Yeah, like there was no air conditioning. Oh, that's like, gross. They ordered pizza. That's not so like, gross. The pizza was like extremely greasy, but it was totally worth it. What type of pizza was it? It was Marco's. Oh, well, yeah, that explains it. Marco's, yeah, so I got accosted because I didn't want to get completely ruin my my character sheet, so I'd always ask for a fork. I was that guy at the table. I ended up still like covering my original character sheet in pizza grease, which was really sad. That yeah, now you can cover your trackpad with pizza grease, and that's just as gross. No, I can't do that. That laptop's expensive, man. And then the journey began. Yep, and then it kind of took off. So, because you still play with that group occasionally, right? Not anymore. I keep in contact with them, but like everyone moved off to college. Like our DM like travels like to like Europe and crap like every other weekend. Well, yeah, that would be a little hard with the time. It's not like you could even do a Zoom call with a time zone difference because you're like 7 or 8 hours apart. Exactly. Yeah. After that, because I played with them for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And then I got some of my other friends to come play. And I played with them for a year-ish, like 2 or 3 sessions and a couple one-shots. And that's where I really got into like becoming the DM and becoming the storyteller rather than the player. Yeah. Because that really started to intrigue me, and that gave me that kind of itch for creativity. Yeah. Yeah, DMing is a very special role, and it's definitely not. I think it's something any like player should try at least once to at least appreciate the loving care a DM puts into a session, only for them to ruin it. Yep. But hey, that's the fun part, because not everything can go how you want it.
Yeah.
But that is definitely probably the most fun about being a DM is crafting a story that your players will enjoy.
Yeah. /destroy.
/destroy. For you as a DM, it would be destroy, but I view it as controlled chaos. Like,
yeah,
it is so much fun to have players go into a world that I've created, like, because how I do it is very like light.
Yeah.
Light on like story and background, and I let the players like create the world around them.
And it has definitely gotten chaotic in some of our sessions.
Yeah. The one time I'd say I did write a small background for like a world was probably one of my favorite sessions that I did, and it was a one-on-one session that I did with one of my friends, and it was probably my favorite session that I did.
Yeah. Go into that. Give me the elevator pitch. What was it about?
So it was to get her character, like the basis from where she started in an adventurers guild.
Okay.
To basically create her nemesis that would come later in that story if it gotten that far, and kind of build the world that she was running through. And I like to empower my players a lot, so it gave me the like idea to like give each player some kind of like wondrous item at the beginning. So each player that I had was I think I had them start off at level 3.
Yeah.
Just to get archetypes out of the way.
Yeah, it's a common thing because level 1 and 2 are kind of grueling unless you're in that like,
yeah,
we're doing a level 1 to 20 campaign.
Yeah.
Prepare to suffer.
Those are always fun, but I was trying to like have a condensed story.
Yeah.
So I put her at level 3 and we ran through this story where like she was kind of in between the material plane and the Feywild.
Okay.
And she finds this blade. I don't remember what I called it, but it could summon like an ice owl, like a giant ice creature that I kind of like homebrewed ish, and it gave. I think I gave it like the sword could cast like 1 6th level spell a day.
Okay, just a little treat, but not too crazy.
Yeah, nothing crazy, but like gave her something to look forward to using.
Yeah.
Later on, if like it ever took off, which unfortunately it didn't, just because time schedules and everyone lived like all around.
Yeah, that's in the city we live in. Location. Like that's just as bad as like leaving the state in other locations of the country.
Yeah, so everyone was a far drive.
Yeah.
And we never could get a consistent time period going, which is okay, but that was definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, time DMing a like one-on-one session, which I haven't done very often.
Yeah, I think that's something people don't think about with D&D is say it can just be the DM and the player. Some people run solo, where like you're just presented like through a module with choices and you roll for it.
Yeah, I've looked at those a little bit, but I can't get behind because the whole point of D&D is like the social interaction.
Yeah,
for me at least.
That's part of my as a player for sure. It's the social interaction is working through problems or causing problems, usually in our case.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been the other side of the coin and being an absolute menace to some of my DMs.
Yes, I can confirm.
Yes, not I think one the best one was the last time I played with B2 and that group. We were pirates, so me and him, he was a necromancer and I was a swashbuckler rogue, So I was like his like right hand man on our like very, because we were like very like we were pirates. We're like very poor, and we were our like dinghy that we called our ship was the Gray Pigeon.
Hey man, sounds like a pirate ship to me.
It was, because the best part was this was like supposed to be like a one shot, and we were able to push it to like 2 sessions. So on that second session, we were on a floating city, and the rest of our party was like, we need a distraction because we were trying to get like I don't remember what we were trying to do. We were trying to stop like an outbreak of some kind.
Yeah.
And they said we need a distraction, and then continued talking, and we both looked at each other because the setting was on this floating city, and there was a festival going on. So we both looked at each other and said, we have the distraction. Don't even worry about it. And we both looked at each other with the biggest grin because we both knew what we were about to do.
Y'all both tapped into that goblin energy.
Oh yeah, we said we were going to find the biggest amount of fireworks that we could, and we're gonna blow a hole in the square.
Yeah, that sounds like a great distraction. I'd be pretty distracted if I was a commonplace townsperson.
Oh yeah, no, we blew up like the town square.
Yeah,
and then brought down the entire city.
Okay, that's a little more than a distraction then.
Yeah.
Good gods.
Yeah. The other part was B2 also was like, I want to become a lich, and I was like, we can do that.
Oh yeah. Well, that's definitely probably the path. That's evil enough to stain your heart for lichdom.
Yep. So we blew up that city, brought it, because it was a floating city too, so it fell from the sky.
But all the innocent civilians.
It was okay. Most of them died quickly.
Okay, I guess that's merciful. Were y'all evil characters, or were y'all just chaotic characters?
We were. I don't remember. I think he was like our.
Well, yeah, if he's trying to be a lich, it's pretty evil.
Yeah, like he was straight up like, I think, lawful evil.
Okay.
Or chaotic evil. I don't remember. I was lawful evil with that character.
Okay. So you're down for whatever.
Yeah, I was down for whatever. Like he was the captain of the boat, so we were side by side.
Yeah.
So we blew up a city, brought it down, which caused a dead magic zone. So we basically created Fallout on accident.
So, spoilers. Critical Role Campaign 2, you created the end of Campaign 2.
Nearly, yeah.
You Aored the city.
Yes. In which also one of the other players had the most anime ending to like get away from us. He like threw his sword and yelled, "I just wanted a boat." Because he was also a captain, like a disgraced captain.
Yeah.
That like just wanted to get like his ship back and like be a regular like tradesman.
So he's literally just like got dragged along.
Yeah, literally just got dragged along with us. And then we did that.
That is very anime.
It was very funny.
I just wanted a boat.
Like he threw the sword like at this, I don't remember what it was, but like just blew something up in coordinates with us blowing the city into pieces.
Well, that's some of the fun of D&D, man, is the fact that you can do that with no repercussions, because I'm pretty sure if you did that outside D&D, you'd probably be in jail.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my story of D&D. It goes way back, actually, since before you and I first talked, and then we did our first session. Mm-hmm. Spoilers. I had heard about D&D when I was a kid. I think my brother was talking to like our friends on the street about it. I don't think none of them played it, but I'm sure it was like they had heard about it at school. Mm-hmm. And then you know, it's like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Because I was always a kid. I had a very vivid imagination. Still do. I think it's partially being like ADD or ADHD, undiagnosed, self-diagnosed, I guess.
Self-diagnosis.
And always like thinking up little stories or something. So if I got like a little thing, I'd come up with like a reason for it and a story behind it. And like I can't like, if I got an old cassette player, because I'm that old, back in the 90s, I'm like, this is the spaceship controls, you know, and I'd just play with it. And then, you know, and then think about it, and then I guess the next thing that kind of led me to D&D. You remember Recess?
Yes.
Yeah. The episode where he gets stuck with TJ gets stuck in the basement with the pale kids.
Oh yeah.
And yes. It's funny because they're supposed to be like the losers. Now, of course, the episode's like, oh well, they're, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, because they think the athletes are losers too. Yeah. So it's like, but I remember seeing the game they played, which is obviously supposed to be D&D, but like also like battle chess or something. I was like, oh, that looks awesome. I know it's nerdy, but it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, D&D was definitely kind of in its dark period. I don't know, 3.5 would have been long out by then probably, because this was the early 2000s.
Yeah. So it would have been like 3.5.
Yeah. So, but you know, D&D didn't explode until 5th edition.
Yeah, cool. 5th edition made it more, what's the word?
Accessible, for sure.
Yeah, it made it definitely more accessible, but I think it also took away like some of the agency that you had when comparative to like 3.5, which is a hard system to learn. And I know some people prefer 3.5 just because of how it like manipulates the rule system that it has.
I've never played a 3.5 game, but it sounds interesting. If I ever get the opportunity, I will. I've heard that it's really easy to get stacked.
Yeah, and I think
3.5.
And I think that's why a lot of people enjoyed it, is because you could definitely make like it was the power gamers game.
Yeah,
for sure.
But D&D wasn't really talked about a lot. It was definitely, I mean, nerdy things definitely were not the niche cool thing.
No, I think that came about around like the later 2000s,
like early 20-teens was when like
that's when it really started to, I'd say, probably take off.
Yeah, and you know, that's probably the end of 4th edition, which we will not discuss because I don't know, but I've heard about 4th edition.
I have never seen a single thing about the 4th edition. I will be real.
I've seen some videos about it, and it's, you ought to watch it. You ought to watch Puffin Forrest's video about it. It sounds completely like left field. You know, it's the Zelda Wanda Gamelon of D&D. It was like, okay, well, you did that. Now let's go back to the real thing. I think that's actually the one that introduced the concept of armor class.
Armor class?
Yeah. But it was like...
It was definitely a stepping stone.
All sorts of effects that had to stack. They kind of approached it like you'd approach a game of Magic the Gathering, where like in Magic, the stack is really important. So like you do this on counter, this on counter, this blah 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 blah, and this effect, you have to resolve it in order. And applying that to D&D kind of takes some of the fun
out of it,
out of the randomness. Not that certain things that, you know, there's a time order still with, you know, turn order and stuff, but it was like, oh, your character's event triggers this, but this happened first, but then this thing happens, and this environmental thing, and like the moon is in its 4th phase in the sky. So yeah, 4th edition, not loved by a very few people. Understood by even less.
Yeah, I can attest. I didn't even like think about 4th edition, because the only ones that ever really get talked about are 3.5 and then 5e.
It was 4th edition is the Voldemort of D&D. He's like, he who must not be named.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. it's some years past where like I heard about it and it's like I didn't know what it was. No one had explained it to me because my brother, was like we wouldn't be allowed to play it because I grew up in a very religious household, and I still keep that belief and as you did, but my parents grew up. They would have been like young adults right as the time of the Satanic Panic. Yeah. So
yeah,
and I don't know how my dad feel. I feel like I've heard that he played like first or second edition D&D in college. It'd probably be first edition because he was in college in the 70s. Or was D&D in the 80s?
D&D I think was the 80s.
Okay, maybe he didn't. Either way,
yeah,
it would have been something he would have loved because my dad's in the Lord of the Rings and all the stories and all that. So, but I could definitely see my mom, who doesn't even like Hallmark movies because they're too raunchy, and is very particular about the content she and when we were young let her young kids into. I think the storytelling aspect would have been fine, but the whole like this person summoned a demon because of Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, well, was it because of Dungeons and Dragons, and did they really do it? I don't know. So, and it wasn't until how long? Like 2018. I had been thinking about it because I don't for some reason rush into like hardly anything. So like. I don't remember if I found Critical Role or I found Puffin Forest first, but one of those, I think I just like searched D&D because it was really like, man, that seemed really cool. I feel like it's something I'd enjoy, but I don't think it's a cool thing to do. So I don't want to bring it up. I don't get judged because like, that's not the cool thing to do.
Yeah, it was because it was still at that phase of like it wasn't in like it is now.
Yeah.
Like it isn't cool to be nerdy. It wasn't cool to be nerdy then.
5th edition was out. Critical Role had started, but I think at that point, Critical Role was like early.
Like still with Geek and Sundry.
Yes, it was. Campaign 1 was still happening because by the time I got into Campaign 2, I was still only like 30 episodes behind. So they were early 6-7 months in.
Yeah.
And I think it was Puffin Forest. Let's start watching his videos, and he's a dungeon master and player, and talks about various good and bad experiences with fun, colorful art.
Yes.
And I thought, man, this looks good. And I think my first introduction to Matthew Mercer, i.e. Critical Role, was his GM tips because I was like, I want to learn a little bit. And I don't remember how it came up, but I remember mentoring to like you and your brother, like, would y'all be interested in trying? And I think you're like, I play. You want to play?
I said, yeah. I was like, I played, so I've been like kicking around the idea of like trying to DM. So I was like, yeah, sure.
So I guess the stars kind of aligned there.
Yep.
And we played our first session in my apartment around the kitchen counter. Why we didn't decide to sit our dumb selves down on the couch, but I remember vaguely the session still. My character's name was his name's Clem Shireson.
Yep.
And it was probably about the worst first character anyone could come up with, like, because you don't know what you're doing.
Nope. And I barely knew what I was doing in the first place too.
Well, that's the best part.
I didn't have a player's manual. I didn't have DM's manual. I had nothing. I was like, I will look up the freest thing I can find. And like everything else was off of my memory.
This is news to me. I didn't know that. I thought you had been DMing for a little bit.
No, I was straight out of the box. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Had you been playing for a little while?
I think at that time I had played played maybe a week's worth.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks worth or something like that.
But D&D in general?
Yeah, just D&D in general. But I'd never played D&D as the DM. I always thought about it and threw ideas around, but never did I commit to DMing a session at all, because it was always one DM and his name was Harvey. Yeah. And he was our DM for that whole time I played with them.
Gotcha.
Until like the most recent time.
Well, you could have fooled me. I had no clue about that.
Yeah.
I thought you'd been DMing for a little bit. And so that's the power of being a DM, is being able to hold up that like smoke and mirrors of I know what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, that high school speech class that I was taking definitely helped.
Yeah, I wish
being able to just fly by the seat of my pants.
That's something I think I should do, is take go to Skillshare or something and learn some speaking, and speak, because I do mumble, which doesn't help, but I'm also deal with a fair level of like social anxiety and stress and all that. So that's one thing playing helps, is being able to come out of that shell. And that's something for a new player is, hey, you can be what you want, and if it's embarrassing, just laugh it off. It's a game, and if you don't like it, you don't have to play again. But I highly encourage everyone to give it a shot at least once. I think if you do it and you get in a good group and you don't have like a stickler DM for a new player, that's gonna be a huge difference. If you have a DM that's like, I remember one of our first sessions like with the whole group, which is one of my favorite stills, where we converted the mind flayer to Christianity. Well, I didn't, but I forgot.
They lynched a chimera.
Yep.
And then they you converted. It was our paladin that rolled it was a 20, and the mind flayer
he like critted on religion.
Yes, and converted a mind flayer.
Granted, that mind flayer was, was dramatically reduced in like danger, because level 3 is walking in on a mind flayer is instant death.
Yeah. But again, it's that idea of like giving my players like the idea of being powerful, even though like the low level isn't extremely powerful, but
that's
like using every level, creatures can be like increased or decreased no matter what.
Ow, just cracked my neck. Yeah, I think that giving them a sense of power is good for, especially like if they're on their first session, because you can demolish them later once they're hooked.
Yeah.
That's a really good way, because it was memorable. I still remember it vividly, because I started playing "Oh Come to the Altar" on my phone. It was great. That was a great session. And then we played a few, and I have a fairly addictive personality, so when I get into something, I get into it, as the books scattered around in various unfinished maps and stuff.
You went on it harder than I did when I first started.
I got hooked. I love D&D so much. I could, if I could play it a couple times a week, I would. Obviously taking 4 to 6 hours a night with a full-time job ain't happening, but
yeah, that's kind of,
if we could get back to even like every couple weeks playing, in a campaign, we've talked about this before, like I would jump at that.
Well, I'm chomping at the bit to get back into it. Like play, DM, doesn't matter. Like I love it all.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, hopefully as I meet new people as time goes on and get involved with some, different, hangout groups, to kind of throw that out there, because I know just from some of the church groups we've been in, there's some people that definitely have, it might not be just dying to play it, but it's kind of like, oh, give it a shot.
It piques their interest.
I've watched Stranger Things.
Yeah,
I've seen Big Bang Theory.
I love when people say that, like, oh yeah, I watched Stranger Things. Like D&D looks fun. I was like, okay, well, try me. Like actually commit.
We'll run a one shot. It'll only take a couple hours, which is what you would take for a normal game night anyway. Yeah. So bring a snack.
Bring a snack. Bring the willingness to kind of involve yourself with the table.
And all right, well, this is a good transition then. I am a blank slate. How would I get in? And I've heard whispers. I'm mildly interested. How would I get into D&D?
Okay. Well, I think the best way to get into D&D is how I got into D&D, and which is getting invited by somebody who's played or is playing and has a group that wants to play.
Yeah.
By far, it was a very seamless transition when I got invited to play. Because I didn't bring anything besides a pen and paper to go try it.
Yeah. Did he have a pre-gen character for you, or did he just help you guide you through it?
Yeah, they walked me through the player's handbook, like not fully, but like they gave me the basics of how to build a character.
Yeah.
And then how to level up a character, and then slowly as each Saturday went on, because we played every 2 weeks. So every Saturday, I'd go, we'd talk about stuff, and then we'd start playing, and then I'd get experience as I played.
Yeah.
Along with since it was always a 2-week gap, I'd go on YouTube, I look up tips, tricks, I look up videos to see how to play and how to get into it. I think one of the best ones that I went to was Davy Chappie explaining characters, the classes, and then I think it's Joe Crab. Also, again, explaining characters in an interesting way.
Yeah.
And then when I started to get into the idea of DMing, it became Matthew Mercer's the single video that I remember him having about DM tips, and then the rest was all Matt Colville.
Yeah.
And that is an ongoing series that he does about running the game, and those definitely helped me expand my mantra of how to play as a player as well.
Yeah. And for those of you watching who haven't heard of Matt Mercer, Matt Colville, they are probably two of the most legendary DMs right now as far as being on public appearance in shows.
Yeah. The other one would be Brendan
Lee Mulligan.
Yep, Brendan Lee Mulligan.
Dimension 20.
Yep, Dimension 20.
Yeah, he's now a guest on Critical Role recently, which is awesome because he's a good DM.
Yep, he's also one of the I'd say those three are probably the most famous out of the DMs and knowledge for coming from.
Yeah. Joe Manganiello. If you want to know about T-Mat, go to Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
In the Hand of Vecna. Yeah, I mean, Critical Role right now is probably the biggest D&D sensation of the decade.
Oh yeah, I mean they put Dungeons and Dragons as something that is cool now.
Yeah.
It is cool to be into, it's cool to play, and you're no longer the nerd, you're no longer nerdy, you're cool. It's cool to be nerdy now.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing is they don't have just I hate to say it this way, but stereotypical nerds playing it. Again, Travis Willingham, part of the Critical Role cast, is a big football-loving athlete dude who also loves musical theater and playing D&D now. And again, if they hadn't had that first one shot, which we can get into in another episode, but he would never known. He might not have known he loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know how as the stars align, as they say. But yeah, course, I have the hiccups now, but
no, but definitely one of the best ways is to literally, like, if it ever comes up in a conversation of someone that likes to play D&D or is interested in it, is to be like, when do you want to make a session? Like, you have to, the biggest thing that prevents people from playing Dungeons and Dragons is the time commitment.
Yep.
Is it, like, it doesn't matter if you have books, like dice, any of that. By far, it is committing to a time, because it takes, like, I'll give it to the point of, like, it takes a while.
Minimum, minimum, if you have already established campaign, minimum 2 hours.
Yeah,
that first hour is probably just me hanging out, eating snacks, and being stupid in the tavern anyway.
Yeah, but like a genuine session, because I got thrown into the deep end when I started too. Like, it was like Saturday morning, like 10 or 11 to like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Like, we played all day. Like, it was an all day commitment. It was a 6 to 8 hour session, and I do not suggest that to anyone who wants to get into D&D unless you are willing to go down a rabbit hole.
A rabbit hole you'll never want to leave.
Yes, but that's if you enjoy it. In my case, I did. So I was fully committed to, like, diving down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But if you want to get into playing Dungeons and Dragons, find someone willing to DM a session, and always, as much as technology has advanced, I'd say do it in person.
Golly.
And make a commitment to, like, 4 hours is probably your best, like, minimum time. And it may seem like a long period of time, but as soon as you get past like creating a character, because that usually takes an hour to like an hour and 30, because you have to kind of go through everything, and you have to think about, hey, what kind of character do I want to make? And of course, there are easier, quicker ways to make a character.
Well, here's my thing. I think I said this earlier. If you're going to someone's house for a game night, you're probably gonna be there for 3 or 4 hours. So why not spend it with something new? Just take the chance. As a player, you do not need to know the book.
Nope. You barely need to know anything.
Yeah. That's the DM's job, is to know stuff. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. So
yeah. As a DM that still does DMing, I barely know half the DM's handbook.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't even know what's on the first page.
Welcome to D&D, the world's best adventuring game. That'd be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's right there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read it.
Okay. Yeah, transitioning to DMing, I think I did it too early. I think I should have gotten some more playing sessions, but I felt adult stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue I had trying to talk in between hiccups is hard. I promise next time will be better.
God bless.
It's something for, I think, a lot of new DMs. It's hard, is to learn to let go of the story or learn how to restructure the story, because I definitely had a very set story, and of course by the time I started DMing, I saw Critical and went, I want to be like that.
Matthew Mercer syndrome.
Yeah, which we will definitely address in a future episode, because I think, not that, you know, everybody and their brothers addressed it, but might as well throw our hats in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt Mercer is a outstanding dungeon master, and it's not because of how good his NPCs are, it's how well he's able to take the blows from his characters, his player characters, and go, okay, I guess we're going here now, and make it look so good to the point that people accuse the show of being scripted, which it's not. Anyone who watches it regularly,
bless you,
Dad, go. Anyone who watches Critical Role regularly will tell you it's not scripted. There's too many like, and there's too many times where Matt goes like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And if you watch it regularly and not just the highlights, you see like the moments where the gears are turning hard in his head too.
Oh yeah.
And he's talked about it where like, I didn't know they were gonna do that. I had to figure it out. And but what new DMs need to understand is, one, he's been DMing for decades now.
Yeah.
A couple decades at least. Because he started in high school and he's what, late 30s?
Yeah, I think he's late to early 30s.
So he's been DMing for a while. And also Exandria, the world they play in is very honed, and he basically gets paid for his brain and his creation. He is, I guess, essentially the creator of Critical Role, even though they're they're all one and the same, they've said before. But on top of that, his cast and his party, like, they call it a cast, but they're all friends. They've been friends for a long time, and they're also trained actors. So
yeah, they're all voice actors.
Yeah,
which
temper your expectations.
Yeah, gives a very high expectation when you watch, like, because especially now, because they're a big production at this point.
Yeah.
So they're all trained professionals. So it gives this air, because if it's the only one you watch, it'll definitely be like, this is like the ideal, like, perfection that everyone wants to get to.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, you don't need it to look like that for it to be fun.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't want to do a voice for your character, that's fine. In our games, voices kind of come and go. For me, definitely I practice a voice. I practice it like on the way there. I'll start reading in accents, and then I'll do it for like 2 seconds and go, well, no one else is doing it. I'm embarrassed. I'm not going to do it anymore. So if you want to do a voice for your character, by all means. It doesn't have to be kid. It has to be yours. Do what you want. But don't, as a player, if you're a player who's watched Critical Role or Dimension 20 or one of these big ones, temper your expectations. Don't go into your DM going like, why are you having to stop and look through the module? Yeah, well, Matt Mercer doesn't do that. It's like, well,
I'm not Matt Mercer.
He made his own world. He's not working a module.
Yeah, and he wrote a book.
Yeah,
I did not.
Multiple books.
I wrote a paragraph on a college ruled sheet of paper.
Yeah, and I'm sure his first sessions were pretty bad too. I'm sure he'd be the first person to admit it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we can go in more depth, and you don't need to cover every topic in the first episode. Here's a DM question for you.
Okay.
Modules or homebrew? I already know the answer, but for our illustrious 2 people watching, one of which is me.
Oh, it's definitely got to be. It's got to be homebrew for me. I've never tried running a module, so I'll say I have bias towards it. But I like having the freedom to craft my own story and craft the player's story. When it comes to modules, I think because I've never run one. I've read through a module before, but never tried to enact one. So I don't know the difficulties of running a module.
Yeah,
with its, because it has its own contained story that you're supposed to go through.
Yeah, I'm homebrew as well. I have attempted modules or mini modules a few times now, and it doesn't click in my head as a DM. And I don't know if that's lack of experience. And every time I've looked, I think it's because I'm just lazy, man, because you really need to just read the module cover to cover. And the cool thing about the core set in some of the other expansion books is you don't have to. It might be good,
It'd probably be a really good idea for both of us to read through.
Yeah, I had started reading through the DMG. It's awfully dry sometimes.
Yep, and that's why I've put it off.
Yeah,
because sometimes when I'm reading, I'll read through modules and be like, this is kind of boring. When in reality, when I like put it on the my players, it'll be completely different.
Yeah, I think the player's manual and the DMG you should read through, whether you do or not. You're not gonna not be able to play without it, but getting those rules set in your memory, to the point that you don't have to read it. You're taking a lot of time out of the game. It might be taking the energy down to a slowing crawl where it could have stayed up. And honestly, between you and me, the DMG is very specific. Like, most of the books come with charts and whatnot, and the DMG, man, the player's handbook is way more useful. Even as a DM, there's better charts in there.
Yeah, there are useful charts in the DMG, but I've never gone to it.
But it's like how to formulate a city, and it's like,
I mean, that's useful for before the session starts.
Yeah, the DMG, I guess that's a good way to put it. Would be good if you're making something before you start the session, and then very rarely will you look at the DMG when you're playing. Yeah,
I mean, it's a great reference, but so far, anytime I've needed a book, I've gone to the player's handbook.
Yeah, Xanathar's Guide to Everything is also, that's like the player's handbook part 2, but that's like what the DMG should be. Excuse me, dadgummit. My apologies, esteemed audience. It means I'm really tired. It is the end of the week, so I'll probably be winding it down after we finish. But Xanathar's Guide, man, that's a great book. There's more charts in there than probably in the player's handbook and the DMG combined. Like, that are useful to like quick roll. I need to populate this encounter. Flip, flip, flip. Oh, you're fighting 37 owlbears.
Oh,
yeah, but it gives you, like, if you have a party of 4.
Yeah, because it gives you that encounter table.
Yeah.
That you can use.
Well, I have a book somewhere in that stack that I know you've used before. It's just like a random list of encounters. I think it's in the bottom stack of the junk.
I didn't like, I picked that book up, but I never actually opened it. I planned on using it for one of our sessions, but I never actually did. I just opened Morton Cayman's Tome of Foes,
baby. Volo's Guide to Monster. In the monster manual, you got enough things to kill your party in multiple ways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I started reading through Tome of Foes, and it's cool because it gives you a lore that you can spill out as a DM. Like, if someone rolls a like an Arcana or a history check, like Tome of Foes deals with factions that butt heads with each other. So the first thing was it Devils and Fiends?
Yeah, Devils and Fiends.
That was fascinating. I had no clue about, like, where they come from. I thought Fiends and Devils both came from the Nine Hells plane, but the Fiends are from Pandemonium, right?
Yeah, Fiends are from Pandemonium, and then
so it definitely gives, like, Fiends are definitely the more chaotic because that's the plane, whereas the Nine Hell, so Pandemonium is kind of a chaotic evil plane, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, we can look it up.
Yeah,
the Nine Hells actually have quite a sense of law and order. It's very twisted.
Yeah, it's really twisted, but I find that very funny. Like, when you look at it, it's like, ooh.
Each layer has its own societies and, like, hierarchies and codes.
And then there's the 9 archdemons.
Yeah, so they're like the president.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, I haven't delved into, like, I want to delve into some of the lighter, because right now Tome of Foes talks about a bunch of evil stuff, but like the planes of law, and like, I was just reading through when I was looking for a something to talk about for like a creature of the week, it's not what I chose, but I stopped on the angels. They're freaking scary, man.
Right.
Like planetars and solars, like solars being summoned down to literally just like be the wrath of God.
Yeah, just absolutely obliterate everything. When they appear.
Yeah, I forgot what the first one is, but yeah, I wanted to choose that for like a creature of the week. I'll take a second to check chat because someone didn't nude it. Duck Van Dyke says, "Cool vibe. I'm staying."
Sick.
Next time we do this, I need to send you the link so you can send it to your D&D friends. See if we can get some lurkers going.
Yeah.
I'm trying to let the hiccup stop before we proceed.
It is okay.
I guess this would be a good time for the creature of the week.
Yeah. What is our creature of the week? Coming from Volo's
this
monsters.
Is Volo's Guide to Monsters. I had a cooler one, but I wanted to choose one that appeared pathetic, because I think those often get skipped over by new DMs.
My favorite creature.
Can I guess it?
Go for it.
Kobold.
Nope.
Oh, really?
No, that's my second favorite. When it comes to DMing creatures, it's the flump.
The flump.
The flump.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're definitely like, I guess anyone can run into a flump, like.
Oh yeah, they're an absolute. They're
based off their lore.
Based off their lore, they're an absolutely like useless creature.
Yeah.
Like they don't do too much, but it's fun to throw them everywhere. Especially when you're a wild magic sorcerer and you summon a creature and you just summon like
a flump
out of nowhere.
It was on vacation to his like family's house in the astral sea, and now it's stuck.
Just get pulled into the material plane for no reason.
Yeah, flumps are weird. I've read up on them. They're actually like incredibly wise creatures.
Yeah, they're super wise, but you can't understand them at all.
Like anything from the astral plane. So the creature I found is called a grung.
A grung? Oh,
do you know what they are?
Aren't they they're the frog?
Yeah, they're like
the toad-esque frog.
Imagine
people.
Like sentient poison dart frogs. So, and I thought, like, man, these look kind of pathetic. And then I read the description.
Oh yeah, they're actually kind of scary.
Yeah, so like they have a strict cast system, which is crazy. So like each color is a different cast. So like you could definitely play that off of characters that find a grung, like, oh, there's nothing, but their skin is poisonous to the touch. So it'd be pretty, like, you could have it play off like one of the smarter ones. What's their intelligence? Maybe not. Their intelligence is 10.
So they can.
They're moderately. They're average Joe intelligence.
Oh, but you can always play that up as they're smarter than they seem.
Yeah, their strength is their dexterity, so they move quickly. So the grung. I'm so sorry. I'm still hiccuping like.
God bless.
I swear I haven't. I swear, officer. But yeah, it's the idea like, oh, maybe they can shake hands and sign a peace. Now you're poison.
Yeah.
You get trapped, and you might have to fight your way out as a grung slave. What? How tall are they?
Oh, they're like small. They're like
gnome size, or even small?
They're like gnome size or something like that.
So
I'm sure they're pretty short.
No, their CR is small, but you throw 20 of them in a room. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting creature.
Hey, I on that solo campaign, I made shrubs. That player's worst nightmare.
Shrubs. Amen.
Shrubs. Yeah, awakened shrubs and awakened trees were traumatizing.
Well, we did that one shot where there was living like jewelry and or food. I do know you love your kobolds too.
Kobolds, no, but if you're talking like favorite character like player character created. It is Maxwell the Small.
Oh, the corgi.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm trying to think of my favorite. I've made more characters than I have any right to.
Oh yeah, I think it's almost the initiation. It becomes the rabbit hole for most players because you create more players than you play.
Duck Van Dyke asks, what are the origins of orcs? Well, if you could pass me the good old monster manual there, unless orcs are in Vela's Guide.
Orcs might be in
they're a playable race as a Vela's Guide. Vela's Guide, I'm pretty sure, but they're definitely listed in the.
Origin of orcs.
All right, you look.
Yeah,
183. Duck Van Dyke, we're gonna answer your question. I hope you're still here. By the way, this is something I definitely want to add to this show where, like, we answer your questions. No, not the Neil with the... Alright.
You got him?
I got him. You got him?
Nope. I'm still looking. I'm dyslexic. I can't find it.
Alright, here you go, Duck Van Dyke. I'm sorry, I'm going to hiccup in between these. I'm so sorry. To the common folk of the world, an orc is an orc. They know that any one of these savages can tear an ordinary person to pieces. So no further distinction is necessary. Orcs know better. Different groups of orcs exist within a tribe. The actions of each dictated by the deity they pay homage to. To complement the various kinds of warriors that spill forth to ravage the countryside, each tribe has members that remain deep inside the lair, seldom if ever seeing what lies outside the darkness of their den. So it's almost like they have a caste system. In addition, orcs have special relationships with two creatures that are sometimes found in their companies. The aurochs, a great bull that serves as a mount for warriors that revere Bogtru. I assume that's a deity, like an orc deity.
Yeah, it's an orc deity.
And Tanurk, a demon orc crossbreed that is so depraved and destructive that even orcs seek to kill it. The aurochs described. So it doesn't really go into the lore behind it. There's got to be. I know orcs are in there.
Yeah, I found orcs here.
Does it say anything about their lore?
It gives like their. A couple different tribes. It's like as it says in the player's handbook, or the monster manual rather. Orcs are savage raiders, pillagers, with stumped posture. I'm sorry. Low foreheads and piggish faces, with prominent lower canines that resemble tusks. And goes on. Let's see. Grimish, one eye, orcs. These are like some of the deities. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't go into direct, like.
I mean, I suppose
where they came from, but I'm sure you can.
I suppose that's up to each DM's individual world building. So you could do a Lord of the Rings style, where they were initially corrupted elves. I could see them in D&D since orcs are almost all evil creatures, right? Or they're neutral.
Orcs?
In here, they're all evil.
Generally, I would assume that orcs are like neutral evil to like chaotic evil. It depends on. Again, I think it depends on the DM that is presenting the story, because everything's going to be different just from like the lore of like the books and stuff that they come from.
And who's to say there's not a good orc somewhere in the world?
Yep.
I would say if they tend towards evil, the way I would put it, if someone like wanted to research the origin of orcs and rolled well enough, I would say the initial orcs were made by like a pact with Asmodeus gone wrong, and that the orcs gods are actually just Asmodeus in the sky, because he's been known to do that from time to time in the lore.
This is true.
Do you know the lore behind the Dwargar?
I remember a little bit of it.
Their deity Lathaguir is literally just Asmodeus, who had them enslaved by mind flayers. So because they were originally dwarves, I had to look all this up because I had a player one time in a campaign that fizzled that was going to be a Dwargar.
Oh, really?
And they had been enslaved. Yeah, that was the Twitch campaign.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was going to be a really interesting character, and it's too bad, things didn't work out. I still want to play that setting. By the way, these Tanarix, it's a half demon, half orc. Doesn't that look freaking sick, bro?
That's crazy. Okay.
I can't really show. We'll have to figure out a way. But yeah,
you shouldn't have shown me that.
Don't kill me with that. I showed you first. I'd kill you first with it.
That depends on who DMs next.
Well, who knows? Is your boom arm working fine?
Yeah, okay. I'm just fiddling with it.
Okay, good. So there you go, Duck Van Dyke. It's up to the DM, but the way I'd probably pitch it as a DM is that it was a pact of like an ancient human or elf with like one of the devils, probably Asmodeus, because isn't he like the top gun?
Asmodeus?
Yeah. In the Nine Hells.
In the Nine Hells, I believe he is.
Or are orcs fiends?
Here we go. I found it. So, orcs worship Grumish, the mightiest of the orc deities, and their creator. The orcs believe that in ancient days the gods gathered and divided the world among their followers. When Grumish claimed the mountains, he learned that they had been taken by dwarves. He laid claim to the forests by those had been settled by the elves. Each place that Grumish wanted had already been claimed. The other gods laughed at Grumish. But he responded with a furious bellow. Grasping his mighty spear, he laid waste to the mountains, set the forests aflame, and carved great furrows in the fields. Such was the role of the orcs, he proclaimed. To take and destroy that the others' races would be denied them. I think I probably read that wrong.
So you said he reclaimed?
Not reclaimed, but because how the monster manual puts it is that he tried to claim like the mountains and the forests for the orcs from the other deities, but the other deities have already claimed them and like created like the dwarves and the elves. So the one-eyed Grimish, the one-eye, said screw that and decided to destroy and lay waste to the forests and the mountains.
So essentially, because the gods mocked him,
yep,
it set orcs on a path of perpetual destruction. Excuse me. That's really interesting. How does that work for you, Duck Van Dyke? If he's still here. Yeah, some of the race origins are because I know the dwarves came from, was it Moradin? Is it Allhammer?
Yeah. I don't remember the exact god name, but it would be the Allhammer.
Yeah. And
that's all under like the Forgotten Realms and the Sword Coast.
Yeah. He says, good explanation. Do you have any other questions? What else can we talk about on this flagship episode? We will be polishing out stuff. We're still figuring out. This was a idea we came up with. I guess it came up in pitch, so Yeah, we'll workshop it as we go.
Yeah.
But I hope the podcast has been good so far. We'll probably be wrapping pretty soon. We've already been going. Let's get to an hour and a half, I guess. We're at 1:19.
Sweet.
Because it's getting late. And I have to be up at 5:30.
Yeah. I have to also be up freaking early, too.
Let's see. Here's another question.
All right.
How do you begin planning a campaign? That's a really great question, actually.
Oh, I'm gonna leave that one to you.
Oh, no. I have planned more campaigns.
You have done more of the writing for campaigns than I.
Yeah.
I'm more of the I'll make a skeleton of what I believe it. I mainly do one shots. That's probably my preferred method of playing D&D.
Yeah.
Or at least for DMing D&D.
Yeah. How to begin planning a campaign? Man. Have a story. Have a story you want to tell, and the DM that's not even a really good way to put it, because the DM is not even really a storyteller, because they're all in a story, telling a story together, but the DM is the person that comes up with the initial idea. So I will often personally because there's a map making tool called Incarnate that I found, and there's a couple of alternatives, but I haven't found them to be as easy to use, even if they look better in the end. Is I'll make a map, whether it's drawn out or an Incarnate. Lately I used to, the original thing was drawing out, but have a setting. If you don't have a story to tell, have a setting, and then you don't have to flesh out, the history of the 2nd century, of the 3rd devastation of
you don't have to write a novel.
Barzale. Yeah. You're not. No, you might find you get into creative writing that way. Something I thought of. I definitely would want to go take a Skillshare, or even go back to school if I could afford it, and take a semester just for fun of creative writing.
Yeah.
So what I'll do often is I'll start with the setting, create a world, and that's just what works for me. So a world I made that I'm still kind of working on a story for, that to immerse players in, is a double continent called Gontaranus. It was originally, the continent was just one called Gontaranus, and now, because of, I always seem to go down this path, by the way, in my story, is that gods get pissed off, and so I'm just saying, all my worlds that have ties are just on the same planet.
Just on different continents.
It's an easy trope, is that the gods were overseeing things, there's harmony, then mages got greedy, because mages are always the ones that actually have the power to challenge.
We always be crapping on wizards.
Yeah. And the gods didn't or not even challenge, they just forsake the gods, because we're powerful enough, we don't need you anymore. So in this case, the gods tore a rift. There was a great battle. I'm coming up with some of this on the fly, so this is kind of how campaign planning happens. There's a great battle, and the gods tore the continents in two, with the more faithful on one side and the unfaithful on another, separated by tumultuous waters. So the two continents is Gadamosin is the faithful, and then Tauranus is the right side. The map, I'm talking about it. And so once you have the big continents, then you fill it with nations. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head without having to pull up the map right now, but on Gadamosin there are at least 4 different sovereign territories. There was Kingdom of Novigren. There's the Elf Realm of Elwas. I don't know. There's basically your Rohan, your Gondor, your Elves, and your Dwarfs.
Yeah.
And then, there's blending between.
So you like to build your kind of campaign through building the world around it.
Yes. The most recent one was the Twitch campaign with some fellow streamers that unfortunately fell through before we got. I mean, there's only one person that technically dropped out, but everyone was busy. And I was like, your character would have been awesome. So I hold on to that because I think.
Again, that time commitment.
Yeah. And when you're streamers in different cities or different states.
Yeah.
And, those two not too long after that, they took a long, year-long hiatus from streaming altogether.
Yeah.
So, life, you have to make time for it. That's the thing. If you get a good group, just like you'd make time to go get dinner somewhere with each other, make that time. You'd be surprised what time you can find if you do it. Now, as people have kids and families, if that happens in your group, maybe you have to go to their place and you have to play earlier because they have a baby and you can't be keeping the baby up. So
yeah. But back on to how to start. Is it how to write?
It was how do you begin planning? So
how do you begin planning? So you can do it like I'd say probably the two ways are like how you like to do it. You like to start from a map and build the story through the map.
So create your world and then populate it.
Yeah. On the flip side, would be kind of my side of things, which is telling short form like stories, in a in a world.
Yeah.
So when I like DM a session, I have an idea of the world that I want the players to be in, and then I'll create it as they play, almost. Yeah. So this is a very like fly by the seat of your pants and like improv as the players play.
Yeah.
Which honestly is probably not the best way to do it, but because I mainly do like one shots, so very small contained stories rather than continuous same characters, same story every week kind of thing.
I feel like with new players that actually might behoove them a little bit. Might be better because there's not a lot of dedication to a story, and if you're doing a one shot, why have this in-depth story? I grew up watching Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Zelda. I was definitely the kid that wanted the epic adventure, so I can't help but plan out all this stuff and at least have the adventure in my head, I guess. But eventually I know I'll get a group at the DM for that. Hopefully we'll be a little more into it.
Yeah.
What I learned though as a DM was, and this is I think a lot of new DMs, if you're more of my style, if you want to have this epic save the world adventure, if you start your characters at a low level, you're gonna wait a while, because we'll touch on this in a future episode, but a level 3, no one knows who you are and you have no power. You can barely help yourself.
You're a goober.
But the main thing for me was understanding that, learning to surrender, swallow my pride in the story, I guess, to fit the players, because there are definitely playing types. Yeah, that's another future episode. We got plenty to talk about. But having players that not necessarily don't care about the story, but they're not here for the story. They're here to have fun and kill monsters. So for one shots now that I know are going to be one shot, I barely prepare.
Yeah.
I kind of have a general idea of where I want them to go. Pick a couple monsters out of the manual that look fun. Yeah, for campaigns, my thing is create a world, populate it, and populating a world is going to create, if you think about it, it's going to create issues and tension and conflict. So
yep. So being able to kind of really being able to write a story is where it comes from.
Yeah,
not necessarily sure. It's like writing like a book and like, but do it in small portions. Like, you don't have to flesh out every nook and cranny of a campaign.
It's like writing out an outline.
Yeah, you write. It'll be the biggest outline of your life if you really get into it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be.
I wonder if I saw my outline from that campaign. I might. Oh yeah, here it is.
Oh.
Y'all can't see this, but it is the most gargantuan. I'm still expanding it too. When I get in the mood, I'll sit there and think about, like, usually for me,
that is literally a spider web for people who cannot see that.
Yeah, so there's a green section which is all about locations, and so here I will, you can't spoil this if we play the campaign because it's the one you're in. So I came up with, so here's a region in the north of my map which is run by a society of guild structure. So essentially, if you are not in a guild, they don't treat you like as a slave or anything, but you're second class.
Yeah.
They value the craftsmanship. So it's called the Frigid North, and then my next bubble is run by a straight guild system with set ranks. Those ranks are apprentice, journeyman, master, grand journeyman, grandmaster, and then guild masters. They had basically the king, but they actually swear fealty to a kingdom to the south, which I just came up with a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh, sweet.
And so start asking yourself questions, and you don't need to have this written down. I got way too into it, but it's nice if we ever play this. And I even have a thieves guild. That was probably the most.
Yeah, again, like bubble after bubble. Yeah. I don't know what app he's using, but it's
called MindNode.
Yeah,
it's a Apple app, so I suggest it. It's really good for but yeah, for that guild system. So like an apprentice is easy. You've been taken on by a master probably, because journeymen aren't allowed to take on apprentices.
Yeah.
There's a central like bastion called the Hall of Masters, and many times a year they will have a chance for apprentices and journeymen to come take their tests to rank up. So if you pass, and masters and grandmasters, ranks from masters above, will walk around and vote with like chips and put them next to a piece of work, and if you get a certain amount, you move up, you pass the test. Journeyman, same thing, except for journeyman, I'm making this up right now, only ranks of grand journeyman and above can judge. And then the guild master, guild master has a special like golden coin. It's a golden ticket that if they judge work so good, like, and this is mainly on a masterpiece test, they can place that, and that person automatically, without anyone else's say, becomes a master. And then you're a master, and if you train one apprentice, you become a grand journeyman. You train two apprentices, you become a grandmaster. And then the grandmasters kind of serve as a ruling council with the guild master, and guild master is selected amongst, voted. It's like the Pope.
Yeah, just get voted. You get voted on.
Yeah, it's like the Pope of the guilds.
Yeah.
So we probably just went into. We have a new person in chat. Oh, Long Johnson says, "Yo,
welcome in."
Welcome in. Do you have any questions about D&D, or before we wrap our podcast? We're kind of in a question section, and Duck Van Dyke, did I answer your question? Yeah, world building is fun.
By far like the hardest, probably the hardest part, or at least for me, is doing world building.
Yeah. That's honestly the easiest part for me, is making the world make sense to run and remembering my own rules. And like hooking the player. Creating a world is one thing, creating a world that hooks a player in.
Yeah.
Oh, Olong Johnson is setting up a solo game. They've never actually played before, but it's hard to find a group. Hey, tell me about it. We're if you're just now tuning in, we're two frustrated DMs because we don't get to play as much as we want to. So I hope you stick around, because maybe if we get some people on a Discord or something, we can get a little like Discord game. What's your solo game gonna be? What else do you want to talk about for the last like 2 minutes?
Last little bit. I don't know.
We can't just keep going on forever, because we have to have more episodes of this.
Yeah. If I keep talking, this is gonna be like 4 to 5 hours long.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a D&D session.
There will be. I think we talked about doing it every other week.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned.
At least that's the hope.
Yeah.
It is every other week, and occasionally we'll try to make it like every week if we can. But
yeah,
our set schedule will probably be like every other week.
I've got full-time work. You've got work in school.
Yep.
So it seems like Saturdays are a good day.
Yeah, Saturday evenings is pretty good. We can always change that around if need be.
Yeah. They say, I'm thinking a level 0, start with no class, set up trials with the different guilds, and let the class happen naturally. That's actually a really interesting way to get into it, is let your trials dictate what you find interesting. Like, I always ask new players who are like, I don't know, there's a lot of classes, and it's like, if you could fight someone right now, a skeleton is in front of them, how would you want to hit them? And if you want to hit them with a stick, you're probably a martial class, so a fighter, barbarian,
maybe monk.
Yeah. If you want to use magic, then you got warlock, sorcerer, wizard. If you want to be a holy warrior, you could be a cleric or a paladin. But I'll rebuild the map, coming up with NPCs right now. Hey, well, shoot, do I still have a Discord command?
Yeah, drop the Discord, my boy.
If not, okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if that works. Are you following the chat right now?
Yeah, I did pull up the chat just to keep up a little bit.
If that doesn't work, let me know, and I hope you drop a follow, because we will be ending stream momentarily, and I'd sure love to see you again in the chat. Hey, there it is. There they are. I figured this would be a better way. That way if I didn't like the class. Yeah, and if it's a solo game, you're in control of your own story.
Hey, man.
Hey, Olong Johnson followed. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the forest, man.
Yep. We if this takes off, we'll probably move it to a dedicated channel, but since I already had the ways and means set up on my channel, we will. So oh snap, Olong Johnson just subscribed.
Bro, thank you.
Much appreciated.
Appreciate that.
Well, I think we've kind of covered a really good basis. There will be a VOD, and I think I'll post it to YouTube as well. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah.
So look for us in 2 weeks. I think we'll try to make that happen. What's happening in 2 weeks? It's not Easter yet, right?
No, I don't think so.
Easter weekend, we'll definitely have to not have this, because that's kind of busy for me. So
that'll be busy for me too.
But
that'll be the week of the 18th.
But if y'all, if you enjoyed this, join a Discord. If you haven't followed and you enjoyed this, consider doing what Olong Johnson so wonderfully just did, and come with questions next time. Yeah, definitely. I have a D&D tab in the Discord.
Yeah, and keep us updated on that.
Yeah, I'll share some maps from there. I'd like to get my Discord a little more active. So, yeah, see you in 2 weeks and invite friends. But I think we're gonna sign off here. So yeah. I don't know a good sign off. So good night. Play more D&D, and if you can't play D&D, sit here and talk about it with us.
God bless.
All right.
Amen.
Y'all have a good night.